Hello and welcome to today's video on the Magic Multiverse. Today, basically, I'm just gonna talk a little bit about the artifacts and how they're gonna affect the whether it's the pre-release or just standard in general. Now, of course, you know Affinity is a big thing in Modern, but there's a few new cards that I think Wizards is trying to get us to play artifacts possibly a little bit more with a few cards from F15. Now let's start off with Ensoul Artifact. Now for 2 mana to make a 5/5 enchantment, or to enchant an artifact and make it a 5/5 is going to be absolutely insane with new cards being released like Ornithopter and Darksteel Citadel. Well, I mean reprints, but new reprints, I guess. But basically that's just going to be an insane combo on turn two, having either a 5/5 flyer or a 5/5 indestructible land. That's just going to be insane to watch. Now, Chief Engineer, 2 mana to give all your artifact spells Convoke is just going to be crazy as well. There's a ton of god weapons in Theros block already, so this is going to be very easy to get them out. It's just going to be absolutely insane to watch. I mean, to give all artifact spells Convoke, you're basically going to be casting stuff for free, which is going to be pretty interesting to watch. Now, let's move on to red. Now, there's Hoarding Dragon. They're reprinting that from M11. Now, I'm not quite sure how this card would work in this deck. I mean, of course, you get to look for some gigantic artifact, which I'll show you later. But he's a 4/4 flyer, so I'm not sure exactly what you would search in exile. Uh, Basically, you could pick a few things. It really depends on the deck that if you manage to, or if you plan to build this deck. Now, I noticed they're reprinting Shrapnel Blast as well, which is just excellent for artifacts. Dealing 5 damage to a creature or player for 5 mana is absolutely insane. And basically, if you're going to have a free Ornithopter just lying around, I mean, might as well sack that. Not that big of a deal. So I'm glad they're reprinting that as well. Now, let's move on to the next red card. Now, this card I'm not so excited about. It's Kirkesh, mostly because there's not many artifacts that have abilities that aren't mana abilities. I mean, there's Springleaf Drum, but that's an artifact, or that's a ability, as I stated. Or mana ability, as I stated. It works well with the Chain Veil, but of course, I'm not sure the Chain Veil is going to work with this artifact deck because it doesn't have any. There's not many red or blue planeswalkers that are really that great. Scuttling Doom Engine. Now, this is an interesting card. 6 mana, it can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less, and whenever it dies, it deals 6 damage to target opponent. Now, you see this, and you're just like, wow, a 6 for a 6/6. And then, basically, you just Shrapnel Blast, and that's 11 damage right there. I mean, that is absolutely insane. That is a ton of damage just to Shrapnel Blast, so that'll be an interesting combo as well. Phyrexian Revoker, obviously, this is going to be an amazing sideboard card. I've stated it a ton of times in my other videos. Just shutting down a Planeswalker is going to be insane with this 2-drop. It's easy to get rid of, but I mean, if you manage to defend it well enough, maybe make it a 5/5 with Ensoul Artifact, it'll be much harder to kill. Now let's move on to some cards that are actually in Affinity decks right now in Modern. Now Ornithopter is one of them. A 0-drop for a 0/2 flyer. Now, you might look at this card and think it's insanely weak, but if you give it Ensoul Artifact and make it a 5/5 flyer, which is similar to Cranial Plating, it's going to be absolutely insane. Now, of course, if you don't play Modern, you probably don't know what I'm talking about, but I will definitely make an Affinity deck list later. I'm just trying to get together a few more cards. Darksteel Citadel. This is another card that is already in Modern and Affinity in Modern Affinity. Now, it's an indestructible land, and you can add one to your mana pool simply by tapping it. But imagine just Ensoul Artifacting that. That is going to be absolutely insane with a 5/5 indestructible on turn 2. I'm not sure how your opponent is possibly going to deal with that. You basically just have to get rid of that enchantment, which is, even though Theros is still around, with all that enchantment hate, this is going to be absolutely insane to watch. Now, Springleaf Drum is getting reprinted, another card in Modern Affinity. So obviously you've got a few cards that you have, and you have Shrapnel Blast, Ensoul Artifact, Chief Engineer, and I'm not sure if I like Hoarding Dragon or Kirkesh, but of course that is like a ton of cards, and they're all like 2-drops, so very easy to cast. Now Soul of New Phyrexia, of course I had to include them in the deck. Just absolutely absurd and just great card. 6 for a 6/6 trample, and then you can make your permanents indestructible, which means all your artifacts could be indestructible until the end of turn, which is crazy. I mean, it has trample, which, I mean, what wouldn't you want from a giant artifact creature that just looks like it came straight from, I don't know, some sort of spaceship? Now, Perilous Vault, this is the card I was talking about earlier, just a board wipe. This would be one of the cards I would look for with Hoarding Dragon, just as a threat. So if you kill the Hoarding Dragon, then basically you just have a board wipe, which is just going to be insane to threaten your opponents with. It's going to apply a ton of pressure. Now, basically, this obviously it's not much of a deck list, but of course I don't have this planned out yet because I haven't researched too much into the Born of Gods and all the other cards in Theros block. I will though. I will most likely end up posting a deck list on this. This is basically just to prepare you guys for pre-release. Just kind of notice some good combos that you could possibly do if you manage to get some of these cards, like Chief Engineer, Insult Artifact, which is just an uncommon, and Shrapnel Blast. Basically, artifacts are going to be very insane at the pre-release. They're going to be pretty good. They're going to impact standard a little bit. Some new cards are being printed, even some old ones. Now, of course, Modern Affinity is tying into sort of standard a little bit. Might not necessarily be with the best cards, but definitely impacting a little bit. Now, thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. Like I said, I hope you have a good time at your pre-release. Thanks for watching.